I'll call the meeting of the town board of the town of Lake Mills to order. It is December 11th, 2018 at 8 p.m. here at the town hall. The notice of this meeting was posted at the town hall, the North End Boat Launch, the cul-de-sac on Finch Brothers Road, and also on the town's website. Item 2 on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve December's agenda as printed.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the agenda as published, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. The agenda is carried. Approval of the minutes, including the October 18th, 2018 neighborhood meeting and the October 23rd budget workshop.
I haven't made it all the way through your hour and a half long neighbor meeting yet, but here's your budget workshop one.
All right, so let's just approve this and we can put the neighborhood meeting on.
Yeah, I was here for that.
We can move that to next month.
Thank you. Started it.
I appreciate
Haven't
it.
finished
All right, I will make a motion to approve the special meeting of the town board at the budget workshop, which occurred on October 23rd, 2018.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion on the special town board meeting? We did do a little business that night. Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes of the October 23rd budget meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and all opposed, the same sign.
I have to abstain my vote because I wasn't there.
Hey, you were. The budget
23rd.
meeting?
You were.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was thinking, yeah, the 23rd. Yeah, I was thinking the 18th. I'm sorry.
Okay. Now, the minutes from our regular meeting on November 13th, 2018. I will make a motion to approve the minutes of the public hearing, the special meeting of the electors, and the monthly board meeting minutes for October 13th, 2018.
I will second.
Is there any discussion or questions? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes from the November 13th meetings, please say aye. Aye. And all opposed, the same sign. The minutes are approved. Thank you. Thanks for doing that, Sarah. Item number 4, approval of the treasurer's report. Sharon.
I will make a motion to approve December's treasurer's report.
And I will second that. Is there any discussion or questions on the December 18 treasurer's report?
Messing around with the numbers here a little bit. Sharon, so are we going to be able to cash apply the $33,971, or are we going to be able to cash apply more than that to next year?
I would think more than that, because that's just receivables through November 30th.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Sorry,
then
actually.
we can't take the 50,000 from the 293 and be cash applying 243,863, can we?
Where'd you come up with that?
Well,
The general fund has, that's what you're talking about, right?
yeah. I'm just kind of curious of what's
Well,
left, so.
That kind of is in your,
I haven't looked at that.
yeah, there's some, got tax money I can,
Apply.
yeah, apply.
Right.
We don't really make those payments until March, though, right?
Some will be in
Which
January.
payments are you talking about?
Some will be in January. To schools.
There's a
Oh, well,
January
that's-
settlement and there's a February settlement.
Yeah, but that's not part of the cash apply numbers.
All right.
Right, yeah.
Well, there's 32,000 in general.
Right, yeah. And then because we have, the capital outlay, which, that stays.
Yeah, and so does Rock Lake.
Rock Lake and, occupancy bonds.
So I can hold, well, wait, we're talking about, you're just talking about revenues? You haven't even gotten to the disbursement?
No, I was just talking about the cash apply for 2019 budget is in. Just curiosity as well.
Well, that's been our pattern.
Yeah,
Apply.
Yeah, I can't answer that right now.
it wait until everything is, for the year is
For
ended.
the,
Yeah.
There we go.
Right, we have a motion on the floor to accept the treasurer's report from December. All in favor of approving it, please say aye. Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. Look at zipping up the end of the year. Item 5 is the approval of the general funding vouching. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve December's disbursements of $52,881.92.
And I'll second that. Are there any discussion questions or
Are
anything
you gonna
else?
talk about trailer repair, Matt? This was a trailer repair.
Yeah, we had tires that needed to be replaced and wiring, the lights were bad.
That was your Rob's Motorsports.
Yeah.
Yes,
Trailer repair.
I knew that. All right, any other questions? All in favor of approving the disbursements of $52,881.92, please say aye. Aye, and all opposed, the same sign. Busy time for the treasurer, thank you very much. And thank you, Sarah, for the tax letters. I don't know if any of you have received your tax letters yet, but Sarah's done a nice job of updating the tax letters so that you have 6 points to consider in the town of Lake Mills. And one of them is to pay your dog license on time. Take a look, take a moment and look over the tax letters.
And
So,
be sure and enclose a self-addressed stamped envelope for your dog, and if you want your tax receipt, otherwise you won't get a tax receipt if you don't.
okay, those people who are at home listening, carefully read your tax letter. Thank you. All right, on to the reports. Item A, the police report. Matt?
For the month of November, we had 56 hours of road patrol, handled 5 complaints. I had a total of 23 traffic stops, 18 warnings, 11 citations, spent 16 hours out of the 56 hours running stationary radar. Did 4 residence and business checks, did 19 park checks, and did 3 extra patrols during the month of November. Unfortunately, one of our officers who retired from our department named Jim Salmon did pass away on Friday unexpectedly. And you were doing a card that was being passed around for the town board to sign.
Officer, I don't know what his title was. Was he a sergeant?
That was an officer.
Officer Jim Solomon passed away very suddenly, and we're sad to hear that. Anything else, Matt?
That's it.
All right, on item B, the Joint Rock Lake Committee report. I see no one here from the Joint Rock Lake Committee, but I was at the Joint Rock Lake Committee, and we are moving forward swiftly with the pier ordinance. I would like to bring that to our meeting and put that on our agenda in January.
I saw that they're not going to meet in January.
Right, so they're hoping to support me. I'm hoping
Oh.
they will support me. So, as far as the peer ordinance goes, I would like to make sure that that gets posted on the website, so people can have a shot to look at
Do
it.
you have the most current?
Yes, I do,
draft for me?
and I'll make sure that you have that.
Okay.
You guys should have the most current one, so if you have questions, you can start to think about that for January. Item C, the Planning Commission report. The Planning Commission did not meet, but Lee, do you have anything you want to bring forward?
No, it didn't meet. There's nothing else at this time.
Unusual circumstance. Item D, any other committee reports? And here is where we have the Daybreak / Creekwood construction update. And I see Rick is here. Would you like to take the podium, Rick, and introduce yourself? I'm sure there'll be some questions. Give us an update on where you're at.
Okay. Rick Radel, project manager for Daybreak Foods. Well, first thing, thanks for the invitation to come here. I know as we worked through this process with the township, we agreed that we'd want to keep you updated as we go along. I'm going to start out with the tough subject, and the tough subject is odor. We are using the house out at the property that we purchased across from our original site, which was the Nelson Farm. And that house is our construction office, and I can tell you I spend a lot of time there. I think I left there about a little after midnight last night. So if there are challenges with odors out there, I'm the first to admit that they're there. And I was just speaking with one of the gentlemen in the audience, and he made the comment, he said, you know, if the winds are right, it's not bad, and when they're not right, it's more than bad. And I won't disagree with that. I guess because I've been there a little more and get to experience it a little bit more, I've made it a point to take it to higher level in our operations team. And I think lately it seems to be getting worse than better. I was kind of surprised. I thought going into fall and maybe into winter would actually improve, but I don't think it has. And in particular in the mornings, maybe it's temperature inversions, maybe it's the wind, maybe it's just the amount of manure. I'm not sure because I'm not an operations guy there, but it's definitely stronger. So I've taken it to our operations team, and I'm on the leadership team for that. And we have now implemented a program where we're bringing in a consultant. We brought one of our team people from Iowa up, and he's working directly with farm management there to do some things like spraying a stover cover over the product while it's being composted to reduce the odors. We found that wood chips, you would think, would kind of help to absorb moisture. It really didn't help, and if anything, it created a higher volume of product, which is the last thing we need. And it had to do with, I guess, kiln-dried versus non-kiln-dried wood chips and that kind of thing. So we're looking at ways to haul more of it out quicker and reduce the amount on site. I was actually in a meeting where we went and did calculations on the amount of product that is produced versus the amount of product that we're removing from the site. And by my simple math, we're short. In other words, we're gaining more on site than we're taking away. And that just has to do with, we had, you know, as you well know, a wet summer, which didn't help our construction, by the way, although we are on target. And then even going into the fall. Well, what that does is it affects fields. It's harder for farmers to be able to take the product, whether it's in Wisconsin or Illinois or wherever it might go. As you know, product coming out of that site is sold to Midwest BioAg. And they've been doing as much as they can. That doesn't mean it's enough. And so it has gone to a higher level in the company. Can I give you any guarantee? No. Can I feel your pain? Absolutely. Every day. I'm out there because I go around the entire site. So whether it's east, west, north, or south, I'm at some point touch it, smell it, that kind of thing. And I've got a much stronger appreciation for the things that you talked to me about 6 months ago. And I apologize for the odors. I can tell you that the long-term permanent fix is coming, and that's a good thing. But like all of you had said, what are you going to do in the meantime? A very relevant question. It seemed to have improved for a while. I think we'd probably all agree with that. And then it seemed to kind of go down a slippery slope pretty fast. So I would like to think that in about the next 6 to 8 weeks, I'm going to come back and give you more information just relative to that topic because we owe it to you. The township has agreed to let us proceed with this project, and in return, we need to give back. And part of it has to make it so that people either directly our neighbors or, you know, whether you're on this side of town or the other side of town, you could be affected by it. And I'm not here to tell you just words. I promised myself the last thing I would say, and I'm only telling you this so I can say it, is we're working on it. I'm not going to say that to you because that means nothing. It means nothing. You need facts and dates and what's happening. And so what I told part of our operations conference call this morning was when I'm at this meeting, I will share what I know and I will promise to share more as soon as I know it. But I will not rest because I'm right there with you, literally, right there with you. And I'm not saying anybody's doing anything wrong. I'm just saying we're not doing enough right now to improve the situation for you and for ourselves. And it is a challenge, no question about it. That farm is a very old farm, very difficult equipment to run, like a new farm would be run. But that doesn't mean there isn't something you can do. So I'm going to say we're turning up the heat. I don't know if that's the right word. But we are definitely giving it more attention. And I will be back in this room, and I will give you another update with more information. Now, the good news is that change is coming. And if you haven't driven by lately, you have to be pretty blind to see that, okay, the change is coming. We are on schedule. Next week, Wednesday, our first new flock of birds is going to come into our first pullet house. 200,000, less than 1 day old birds will come in. That is exactly on schedule. Okay? 2 more pullet houses are under construction. 7 weeks from today will be the next flock in pullet house 2. On April 12th of 2019 is when the first half of the first layer house will be populated with the birds out of pullet house 1. The only building that will eventually stay at that current site is what we affectionately call G3, which is the kind of like the cream colored pullet barn that's right next to Highway A. And that's because that's a fairly new building. Now that is conventionally raised, and we use that for populating our LMC site over by Marshall. And that recently got a new flock, but that building will just continue to cycle flocks like it has. That building is about 100, I'm going to say 155 or 158,000 birds in that building. It's a pretty exciting time for us. I don't get a lot of sleep, but at the end of the day, the main thing is we're on schedule because that is the permanent fix for what we're doing. To give you some background, I'm going to kind of start at the back end, and the back end would be the feed mill. That's kind of the last piece of the project that is actually starting up now. We had to do some very deep digs for that, as you can imagine when you have a feed mill. If anything goes very high and heavy, it means you have to go very deep. In the process of going deep, all of our our geotech reports said that we shouldn't hit a lot of water in the certain areas. Well, if you knew the weather, we had a lot of rain, and that raised the water table, and so we had to do what's called dewatering. And basically you put small point wells around the construction area, and you run it for a long time to basically pull the water away from the area that you want to do construction. We had to do about a 30-foot deep cut. In that process, we found out that, okay, we have to change kind of the design of the mill to account for, more of the soil strata to carry the load. That then kind of put us in a position where, as we were setting elevations for what would be eventually our conveyor and towers and all that kind of thing, well, that all changed. So then I had to go back to engineering, and that's why we haven't even come forward with that yet. My concrete team got ahead of us and started doing some footings, as Hope had brought up to me not too long ago. If they have to be changed, they will be changed. We will be coming and looking for approval. We'll give a lot of detail to your engineers and to your attorneys and ours as well to have a good, strong agreement in place that would involve not only structural detail, but also maintenance detail and that kind of thing. So there'll be more to come on that shortly. I've been promising that for a while, and I don't like to not produce, but I've been held back by the fact that things keep getting adjusted on me. They finally have stopped, and we're to the point now that we've done footings and foundations on the feed mill. Steel has been set in the most inner heavy part of the feed mill, and so soon we'll start to do some structure on top of that. And of course, that's the opposite side of the road from the layer facility. On the layer site itself, like I said, I'll kind of work backwards. On the layer site itself, Layer House 1, which is the northernmost house, is about 80% complete as a building, and And we will actually start installing equipment into that building, the aviary equipment for the cage-free. Will start being installed in about 2 weeks. That's a very long process. Like I said, the north half of that building will be populated April 12th. And so the installers for that equipment, have a very clear deadline of what they have to do. The south side will then start construction on the interior. And then at the same time, the manure drying equipment that's going in the middle of these barns will be done so that any manure produced right out of the first cage-free facility will be dried and will go into the new manure structure, which right now is about 60% complete. That's about the size of, in fact, it's probably larger than a football field back there, all undercover, and designed to handle all the manure from our entire facility for a year. And so that product will immediately go into that site once it's produced. The manure that will be generated out of the first pullet house that I mentioned, which populates next week, we will start by putting that into one of the existing manure buildings only for a short time. It will actually be very dry because that has some of that pre-drying equipment in it. And then once the manure building is completely ready, then we move it over to the other side of the road. Let's see. The processing plant, the footings and foundation are in place for the processing plant. Underground work for utilities, plumbing, electrical, that kind of thing is now taking place. That building structure will actually be delivered on site in about 3 weeks. There is a biosecurity building that's built in front of that, if you recall. The footings and foundations are being dug now. That building will actually arrive yet this week, and that construction will start immediately. Across over at the Pullet site, the Pullet House 1 obviously is just about ready. We've had a lot of contractors working there all weekend, including electricians, plumbers, and obviously aviary equipment installers. And we're on track to be ready for the birds. That building will go biosecure at this time tomorrow. And that means no one enters the building unless they've gone through biosecurity first, because we will start preparing that bird to actually receive birds, and which is pretty exciting for us. It's been a long time getting here. And the good news is, when this all gets done, it will be well worth it, especially for the people who are challenged that have to live with what's there right now, including myself. So in front of that, it just started construction. It's gone vertical. We have a biosecurity drive-through for the Pullet site where there'll be showers for the stakeholders that work in the new Pullet buildings. And any vehicles that come on site will get disinfected when they come on site. So that steel went vertical today. That building will be done in February. We wanted it to be done about the same time the first birds would come on site, but luck have it, that was one area that we had a delay. We do have multiple general contractors on site. So we have one general contractor that's taking care of the pullet barns and the layer barns. And then I have another general contractor that's taking care of the processing plant, the processing biosecurity building, and also the biosecurity building over at the Pullet site. Let's see. I do want to talk about traffic a little bit. I first want to say thank you to all the neighbors. I know there's been a lot of traffic out in that area. Whether it's semis delivering materials, whether it's semis delivering containers of materials that have been shipped from Europe, whether it's concrete trucks, whether it's the heavy haulers coming in with dirt and gravel. It's just a very busy area, as I'm sure your police force, sees on a regular basis. I would like to think that for the most part, they're behaving. Had a neighbor stop into my office for the first time, by the way, and you're welcome to do it anytime. Stopped in last week Tuesday and said, is there anything we can do about the Jake brakes on the trucks that are coming up? Because they get to the intersection of A and Crossman Road, and inevitably, And the answer was, for the ones that come in on a regular basis, yes, but there aren't a lot of those, because a lot of the stuff that's coming in is coming in from many different contract haulers that you never see again. But we are still having communications with the county. It's not easy to pass things through them. The challenge that the county has had, and maybe you can help out on this, would be that if they put no jake brake signs up in that area, that enforcement is difficult. And so apparently the sheriff's department has really kind of pushed back pretty hard on the county from putting those kind of signs up, because they don't like to have something up that they can't enforce. And then if people complain, then they're being asked, why aren't you enforcing it? And that's just a real challenge, because about the time it happens, the truck is probably gone by the time somebody can get there and try to deal with it. But nevertheless, I've been talking with Brian over at the county on a regular basis, and I think maybe over the winter we'll reach a conclusion. Daybreak has even offered to pay for the signs if they would put them up. So we'll see where that ends up. I do want to take just a minute and, I explained a few months ago kind of financial impact, okay? Because it does have value for the community, for the township, and for the surrounding area. And if you recall, the numbers were roughly, Daybreak's contribution to the area right now is about $6 million annually. And that goes to local businesses, farmers, that kind of thing, all within a 20-mile radius. And that's, I think, if you recall, I mentioned that's literally off the general ledger. Okay? We expect that number to more than double at about 12.5 million. Okay? But here's the thing. In the meantime, okay, so now there's a good in the meantime story. In the meantime, for example, today, 100 plus contractors on site working and all spending money in the area. And so at a meeting last week, in preparation for tonight, I asked each contractor to please list local businesses that they have been going to around here. And because I think it's worth thanking all the businesses around here that are helping. And I got to tell you, I'm getting compliments from every contractor, because many of them are from out of state, as far east as Pennsylvania, as far south as Missouri. And they're not bashful about saying what a great place we live in. And they talk about the quality of the people, the quality of the service they get, the quality of the workmanship and craftsmanship that they get from people that are working on our site. It's pretty exciting that we're using a lot of local contractors wherever we can. And to name just a few, Lake Mills Market, Fastenal out of Watertown, Culver's and Lake Mills, Century Foods, Aggressive Metals, Ace Hardware, Trump Excavating, First Supply in Madison, Crawfish Junction, Topol's, Cafe on the Park, We Energies, Pizza Pit, Peeper Power out of Milwaukee, Doyle's Dogs, Jensen Plumbing and Heating, Sunbelt Rental, Thiessen's in Jefferson, Land Tech Surveying, McDonald's, Sportsman's, Schweiert Concrete, Cafe on the Park, Menards, Bob's Metals, Century Foods, Dodge Concrete, and Perfect 10 Boarding. And that was the list they gave me. So I think the Perfect 10 Boarding is we have a couple contractors that have dogs, and then they fly home at times. But I also want to thank the town board that continues to work with us, the Township Police Department for really doing very nice security for us, along with Jefferson County, and the Town Planning Committee. And just one last comment, we're hiring. So we are looking to fill a number of stakeholder positions. So that's, I hope that kind of gives you an overview, and I'll be happy to try to answer any questions that I can.
So when do you think you'll be coming before the planning commission on the conveyor system?
Yeah, I would say, yeah, that's a great question. I would say I'd like to get on your agenda for, let me get the dates right here. I'm gonna say February. I'd like to say January, but because of the holidays and everything, I gotta get the engineers to sign off on the last documentation. We have had the easements that we would like to request. We have had resurveyed now that we know kind of new dimensions. And we're kind of looking like, we're gonna be asking for an easement that kind of goes underground, because we'd like to put a pipeline underground. And then an easement that's maybe kind of like a chunk of air over the road. And it'll basically be like 50 feet wide and call it 50 feet high or something like that. And we actually have, that turns into a surveyed piece of whatever, 3-dimensional land. Over Crossman Road and out to the right of ways, that kind of thing. So February, which means for the plan commission, and then to the town board after that. So we have to get the final information to your attorneys and to your engineers well before the beginning of February. So. Anything else?
Anybody else have any questions? Anyone in the audience want to make any comments or questions? Go ahead, John.
What's a brief description of what happens to the manure? You said that it gets dried, and where does it go from there?
In the new process?
Yeah.
Okay, so everything that will get dried, and let me just give you kind of some numbers, and I start to be a numbers guy through this thing. So the manure starts at about 70% moisture when a bird poops. Okay, in our current facility, it probably stays at anywhere from probably 50 to 40% moisture, which is pretty high, all right? Through the systems that we're going to be putting in, it will actually take it down to, in fact, I actually visited a site that has the exact same equipment that we're putting in. I mean, the same brand. And there's probably 5 of them out there on the market. They're getting down to 8%, okay? Which means with the water gone, with the moisture gone, the ammonia isn't there, and it's controlled, okay? It will go in, it will stay inside, go by conveyor into that manure building, and then trucks actually drive in, they get disinfected when they come in. Everything is, all the roads and everything are blacktop asphalt, okay? They'll drive in, they'll get loaded, they'll get tarped, and come back out, they'll get disinfected again when they leave the site on the north side, and then leave, and it's all gonna be purchased by a separate entity, and then they sell it wherever they wanna sell it. We have the same agreement with them that it will not be spread in the area. We just think we already have enough challenges here. We don't need to do that. The amount of kind of value added that we're putting into this product also makes it a more valuable product for someone that wants to market it. So, there are other things you can do with it. You can pelletize it and things like that, but that creates other issues. So instead, we're doing the 2-step process of drying between what we're doing in the buildings and then in the drying process. Yes.
You're talking about is disinfecting the tires and that.
Yeah.
How many gallons are you using a day now, right at the old building?
Of disinfection?
Yes.
That's, I wish I could answer that. It isn't much. I mean, honestly, they use like a little sprayer, kind of thing.
What do you use to keep it from freezing?
Yeah, I don't know. I can find that out for you.
I mean, I see the guy in the morning spraying the gravel down even.
Right,
Is that soaking down through their groundwater?
Well, they do have matting down, okay?
Oh, they
But,
have?
yeah, there's a matting down that absorbs that.
Out of the new buildings, you're gonna have like a tank where they can just drive through without spraying?
Well, you're getting it right. So, when the new facility comes around, 2 things are gonna happen, okay? We're switching to a different type of disinfectant that actually has a 10-second kill time, and then that's gonna go down and will be part of our sewer and septic system, okay? So it won't just be like outside like that.
Yeah, so,
Exactly. And then the second thing is for that manure drive-through that I just mentioned, that'll have, actually you can look it up online, it's called Hydroblast, and it'll actually, do a very short wash and disinfection on the vehicles, and that gets all recirculated and filtered right on site. And those units will actually be inside the building. It won't be outside, they'll be inside. You won't see any disinfection outside at all. No.
thank you.
Well, thank
I
you.
thought the sun was coming up when I came down Highway S tonight. Must have some kind of a big light that they're working at night out there.
Oh, gosh, is that possible? Hey, well, no, that's a good point. So, I gotta tell you, Sunbelt Rental, okay. So, we're their best friend lately, I think. And they call these things light towers. And, I gotta tell you, bless these contractors. I mean, they will do what it takes to meet a schedule, and, which is great. But at the same time, everybody has a nighttime. I'm gonna say probably 80% of the time, I'm at that construction office. There's a doorbell, you don't have to ring the doorbell, just come on in, it's an office. So you can come on in, if there's any issues, please feel free to talk to me. If there's generators running at night, and they have them, if there's those light towers, and those are essentially a generator, and they're quieter because they're diesel and higher tech, doesn't matter. If you got big lights up there, that's just what they are. If that's an issue, talk to me, because if I know about it, we can always, make adjustments. In fact, at a meeting today, they asked for another one, and they want to use it to light up the yard. They don't work till like 10 o'clock at night usually, but they might work till 7. And like you said, I mean, you get those big lights out there, and it looks like another supernova or something. So, yeah.
I was okay with it. I'm sick of
You're okay with it.
sunset at 4 o'clock. I'm tired of it.
It's like you're in Alaska.
Anybody else have any questions? We appreciate your time, Rick.
Yeah, thanks, everybody.
I know it's a large undertaking.
Thank you.
We'll be looking forward to the rest of the details and any improvement.
I'll be back. Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Move on now to item 7, which is a period of public comment and questions for anything that is not on our agenda. So if anyone wants to make a comment to the board for anything that's not on the agenda, now is your time. Hearing none, moving on. Item 8, review of applications filed. A is a discussion and decision on a request to hold a special event by the Lake Mills Main Street program for the Knickerbocker Ice Festival on February 1st, 2019. This is pretty regular. I think this is our 11th Knickerbocker Festival. I'm a little compromised in this because I am the chair of the event. So I'll expect you guys to carry on.
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve the special event by Lake Mills Main Street program for the Knickerbocker Ice Festival on February 1st, 2019, from the times of 5 a.m. till 6 p.m.
I will second.
Is there any discussion?
I'm assuming the certificate of insurance will be coming, right?
That's
Should
it.
I ask her for it?
I will ask. All right, any other questions or discussion on Knickerbocker? It'll be here before you know it. All in favor of approving this special event application, please say aye. Aye. And all opposed, the same sign. Knickerbocker is a go. All right, moving on. Item 9, old business. Oh, Dave, you're gonna love this. Update on Cambridge Fire and EMS agreement.
It's going to be really easy. Our next meeting is the 19th of this month. And I did see the emails that came through the Village of Cambridge, and they had pretty much the same questions, Sarah, that you had. So I'm assuming we're going to see a new contract, but that hasn't been revealed yet. So that'll be, next week, I think? It's on the 19th.
Okay. So do you want me to leave it on the agenda for January?
Yeah, if you could, that'd be
Okay.
good.
I think you need to talk about this, Dave. We're gonna mail this separately, correct, Sharon?
It was mailed.
It was mailed. It's a capital campaign mailed to the residents of the Cambridge Fire District for support for the new fire engine. As many of you know, we are a small portion of the Cambridge Fire District, and that's why Dave is serving on their board. They are in the process of purchasing some new equipment and expanding the fire station, so we've had many times in the last few months on our agenda.
And if anybody outside the district wants to donate, that'd be fantastic, because your tax dollars, no matter where you live, helps support this emergency service too. So Doesn't just have to be the people in the district, so we'll take anybody's money as long as it's green.
All right, we'll wait to hear another update after your December 19th meeting.
Which actually, I guess to add a little bit more to that, it's broke up to $250,000 was pledged by the participants of the commission. $250,000 we're looking to try to get out of donations and friends of the fire and EMS. And then we're going to be applying a $250,000 grant to the Cambridge Foundation. But that will not come through until April-ish. And the problem with that is these, the manufacturers of these fire trucks are pretty much like everybody else. They like to use your money to build the fire truck. So if we can prepay for this, we actually can save around $18,000, which I think is huge. So they will hold the price until February 1st on the price we have quoted for this. So right now it looks like we're going to be able to probably pay for a little more than a third. We have that much pledged. And also with the contributions from the municipalities. So we're getting there, but we got a long ways to go. If you notice, when you go through Cambridge, the fire truck only has about that much red on it, so it'd be nice to fill it all the way to the top. So. Every penny is appreciated.
All right, appreciate your update, Dave, and your service on that board. Item 10, new business. A, discussion and decision on engineering follow-up regarding the Shorewood Hills Road pond. You guys, we talked a little bit about this last month, not at our meeting, but after our meeting. Corey, our engineer from R.A. Smith, was lagging a little behind on getting me an estimate of what engineering needs there might be. And we sort of determined on that night what we would like to do. One of the things that Corey suggested we do right away is to find the right of way. We'd like to know exactly where the right of way is in that area. He also suggested that we make a complete topographic survey of the right of way to determine exactly how water flows down the road. And then he wants to look at the easements that are surrounding the pond. There are 3 property owners that have property that touches the pond, and if we decide that we want to do some kind of excavation, we may need to either seek a construction easement or be granted a permanent easement on those properties. And so those were the suggestions that he had made. He has put forward some dollar figures too. He updated me today. The surveying will run around $2,800. We were talking about a winter dredge. We do not have any ideas on how much that might cost at this point in time. He is asking us to, right now, the engineering will amount to about $4,800 with all of the topo and the details and the preparation for the easement. He is asking us to round the total to about $6,000 for us to be able to get this engineering work underway and have something ready to present to both the neighbors and to contractors for a possible late winter dredge. I don't know what you guys are thinking about this, but I am in favor of making this happen, taking this cost from our engineering budget, of which I'm sure we're going to exceed. Because I don't know what we budgeted for engineering.
$10,000 a year.
Yeah, so,
And that's for, all roads.
yes. So that's going to chew into it and on the next subject too. But I think this is more, this would give us more bang for our buck this winter so that we know where we're going when we go into another season. Your thoughts, gentlemen? If you guys had time, Lee, I know you were at the meeting. I don't know if you've had time to view the tape we made, Dave. I know a few people in the Lake Association and in the Joint Rock Lake Committee have viewed the tape. I think all of our neighbors have viewed the tape that were not able to attend that night. I think we had some good feedback. I think everybody's a little anxious to see what the next step is. And so I was a little disappointed last month not to be able to bring this dollar figure to us. I told them to get going, and as you see, they have done some soil borings down there. They've also done some marking. They've done some, I'm not exactly sure if the right-of-way markings are done yet, but I know that we have had Diggers Hotline in there, so we have an idea of what utilities are in the right-of-way or in that area. So we really need to go forward and approve at least some cash for this.
So that's gonna be, I mean, I'm totally up for it because it has to be fixed. But, so, I guess probably we have to get the easements wrote, and it probably should be a permanent easement, so you don't have to redo it every single time you wanna dredge it.
Yep.
The right of ways have to be marked, and then it has to be dredged, because if you go for a full design, then it might be too warm outside, because you wanna kinda do it when it's frozen, don't you, to dredge?
Yes, that's been the suggestion.
I think it
I'm good with
needs-
it, yeah.
Yeah, it needs to move forward.
All right, so would someone make the motion, or would you like me to do that?
I'll make a motion that we dedicate not to exceed $6,000 for the engineering for Corey and Horton for the lower Sherwood Hills, or the depression on Sherwood Hills Road.
And I will second that. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving this expenditure, please say aye. Aye. And all opposed, same sign. The engineering is well underway. You guys have anything you would like to say?
Surveys included in the $6,000?
Yes. Yes. Should give us a little extra in case something else comes up. What has been suggested, and I guess that I will have to work with Corey on the wording of it, but we need to write a bid now for this excavation. I tootled around a little bit with the idea that perhaps we could hire somebody to pump out some of the water so that it would freeze down harder. But I think that is basically not a go, because we would have to treat that water as sewage, and a normal sewer dewatering wagon holds 2,500 gallons of water, and we have a ton of water in there. And then we would have to treat that as sewage. It would need to be processed through the city sewer treatment plant. What Corey suggested is that we bring somebody in to excavate the ice out, pile it on the sides of the pond, and/or haul it away. So,
All the way, it's gonna be full of sediment.
yeah. Yes, John?
So, at the meeting, we talked about waiting for it to freeze all the way through and then taking it all out as ice, if it's solid, hauling it away, which would be ideal. The question I have is it gonna, are we sure it's gonna freeze all the way through?
No.
And would it be better to do this in 2 or 3 different sections? So you wait till it's got a good solid top on it, take that off,
Let it
then
freeze.
let it freeze again and take another layer
Yeah,
off.
I think that's what we're looking at. And that's what our contractor said. You know, we had already contracted with Forrest earlier to do the clean out, and he was afraid that it would not freeze solid. That's why I was thinking of a way to get the excess water out of there. So I guess we have to wait for recommendations on that, and then I'm going to push him forward, you know, to get the bid written so that we have an idea of who we might use as a contractor. And if it is a 2 or 3 step process, that we'll have the time to accomplish that while the weather is cold. I hate to wish for cold weather, but in this case, bring it on. I don't know.
Slow down the
And
contribution
definitely,
too.
I mean, hauling it away rather than piling it next to it.
Yeah, it would get
As far as
messy.
I'm concerned.
I'm not exactly sure what the legality of that untreated water would be. I guess we'll have to work with our contractor and see. It's a little more complicated the more I dig into it. So I'm going to rely on Corey to help me and give me some advice on where we go from here. I think the survey team was there on Friday. He did some of those borings. He did discover that in the center of the pond, as you recall, the pond was enlarged, I will say in the Heenick years. Remember this? It was expanded to the south. That makes sense. And he did some borings around the pond. He was not able to go in the center, which I advised him against doing. And he did discover the clay layer that is there in part of the pond. Not on either end, but in the middle. He could find that on either side. So that's encouraging. So we know what is actually going on underneath there. So a lot of this engineering work has already been done. I'm waiting for him to come back with some more recommendations on how we should be bidding it.
So that's consistent with what people have said, Mary and others, that there was clay laid down originally for some reason to help with construction of the
Yeah, to
road.
hold the equipment.
Hold the equipment for putting the new road in. And then since then, it's been extended, and that's where there is no clay, what you're
Yes.
saying. But it's probably all silted there, right?
There's a great deal of debris that has washed into the pond and is continuing to wash into the pond.
Is Corey going to look at some way to maintain the level of that pond?
Well, the goal is to deal with the sediment in it, to give the pond a little more capacity. And then I guess we'll have to see how we can mitigate more of the water coming in. I mean, this is the beginning. It's not going to solve the entire problem. Hopefully, we won't have the kind of wet weather that we've had, but I can't guarantee that either. So it's the beginning. And what I'm going to do from here is send a short update to the neighbors, and I felt that had to go out by parcel post. I think that really, decided we did not want to put that into the tax bills. We'll do a separate mailing to those people. So you guys can pass the word. I sent a few emails out. I don't want to get everybody all excited. Okay.
So Hope, I
Yes.
just want to say a thank you to you and to your colleagues on the board. I think people are very encouraged by the positive way that we're looking at this. We're very optimistic that we can figure this out using science and also your good energy. So
We're making some progress.
Thank you very much.
It's going to cost some money, but we're making some progress. It's the perfect time to set a new agenda for the next year. All right, great. Moving on. Item B, discussion and decision on municipal agreement with the town of Deerfield for plowing of Brown Lane and Rather Road and the DNR parking lot. I put this on the agenda because I'm getting nowhere with the town of Deerfield. They're happy to plow Brown Lane and Rather Road, but they don't want to plow the DNR parking lot. They don't understand the responsibility, the shared responsibility that we have. I mean, we in the town of Lake Mills have always accepted this because we have, what, 3 parking lots, 3 or 4?
3 or 4 of them, yeah.
That we know that we have to keep open. We may not keep the whole parking lot open, but we know we have to keep it open for the bus to turn around, things like that. I feel like we need to draft a municipal agreement with Deerfield spelling out that they're going to do this and that they're going to plow the DNR parking lot. It's like a game of telephone. I could have gone to their meeting last night, but I think we should deal with this in writing.
Right.
You guys agree with me? I mean, it's great.
Well, first of all, we do need to probably share some revenue with them because we don't have to send our contractor up to plow the first half of Brown Lane and our half of Rather Lane. Town of Deerfield does it because they have to go through our road to get to their property. So we're not responsible for that DNR parking lot anyway, because when it goes up
It's
to
in there.
Lovejoy's, the right side is the town of Lake Mills, the left side is the town of Deerfield, and the whole parking lot is the town of Deerfield.
Okay.
And when that parking lot and easement was put in to get into the backside of Goose Lake, I thought that it was pretty clear that DNR had, when they purchased that the town of Deerfield had to keep that parking lot open.
Okay. Well,
So we do need,
we need
if-
something in writing is what we need because
we pay to mow,
Yeah.
But we don't pay anything to have the snow plowed. We pay to maintain it as far as, any repairs.
Right.
So you would probably owe them something to plow it.
And
Because they just
so,
been doing it other.
goodness of their hearts. Well, how are we gonna determine what that fee should be? Should I go to Jay and say, "Dear Mr. Forrest, how much does it cost to plow those 2 roads?"
Hey,
That'll be a
That's it.
good start.
yeah.
And then I'm gonna draft a letter and tell them, I think it's silly for us to have to go to the DNR parking lot, even though we have to go to Schollmeyer. I think it's silly for us. We just think we need to get it all written down. All right, that's what we're gonna pursue. And I will do that in a letter to them. And I'll bring that back to you guys. I'll probably send it, and then maybe I have some reply here, all right, for next
What you
month?
think?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. In the meantime, I did talk with Forrest about it so that it will not go unplowed. Let's put it that way, if we have a big storm. Item C, discussion and decision on bidding for Airport Road. Thought I should put this on the agenda because Sarah and I had a long talk about highway funding and dollars and how we keep things going and borrowing and paying down and making sure we're doing the right thing without letting the taxpayers down. And/or letting them off the hook.
And the timing.
And the timing. And so, I think the road that we should tackle, this road plan that we have is pretty, what should I say? It's very flexible. It changes at the drop of a hat. But I think this is the year we should be taking on Airport Road. And I'm thinking about the section of airport from Newville to Cool. And probably that's about as far as we can afford to go this year. I did meet with Farmer Joe Spoke out there. We talked about his driveways. We talked about the ditching. And I would like to get going on some bids. I would like to write a bid for the ditching on Airport Road, mostly on the south side, and for a mill and overlay for that area.
Then one thing too, hope that could be added to your bid would be from Cool Road to the bridge
Okay?
over the interstate of taking a look at of putting cold patch or cold, what did we do on Conservation Road? That was a cold mix, right?
Yeah, cold mix.
And have them bidded in, 2 things. One, the ditching and the
Right.
milling, and then the cold.
Would
Just
you,
in case there would be enough money to go all the way.
would you use the cold mix on the entire road?
No.
You'd use the hot mix on the portion from Newville to Cool and then the
Yes.
cold, okay.
Because I think, Sharon, from your guys' driveway to Krogville Road, that's really, seems to have a good base and it's pretty strong. It's just kind of alligated and
Yeah,
kind of
that's not
choppy as
like the other,
the other path.
mile.
Yeah.
Okay, at the same time, I'm driving down North Shore Road and it's falling apart in front of me, so.
And Mud Lake Road, it breaks up behind your vehicle.
Okay, but that is what I would like to do. I would like to put those bids together over the holidays and have those ready to roll the first of the year so we know where we're going. I did get a sad phone call. My good friend Dennis Mungy from Payne and Dolan, who's been a very big
Yeah.
help to me and to this board over the years, is retiring 1st of January, but he assures me that he's handing us over to
Wow.
someone capable. I think his name is Mr. Winter. So,
That's a lot of tricks in the bag and
yeah,
knowledge.
yeah, he really had a lot of knowledge
Yeah,
and
it's
he
too
was
bad.
a local guy and.
Good for
this-
him, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I said. But I cried a little too. Anyway, that's the road update. Okay, here's another one. Item D, the discussion and decision on Rock Lake Road engineering and approval. As you recall, maybe you don't recall, the bridge at Newville Road. Newville is the road we completed last year. The bridge at Newville and the bridge at Rock Lake are going to be redone by the state DOT. The discussion was for 19, but I believe that it has moved to 20 and/or maybe 21. And so we don't really know. I made contact with Jeremy Tomish, who is the engineer for a company called, what is it?
CH?
SEH, which is Short, Elliott, and Hendrickson. Their office is in La Crosse. They have the contract with the state to do the engineering and the coordination on those two bridges. Thought it would be prudent if we worked with him. I did meet with him and with Brian from the County Highway Department about this contract. I wrote a grant for this road. Can't remember exactly what I wrote it for.
Dollar amount?
300, almost $400,000 for this section of road. And we're talking about Rock Lake Road. From County Highway B, underneath Rock Lake, underneath the I-94 bridge, and taking a right on North Shore Road where it's really bad right now, up to the first driveway.
And that includes reconstruction of the island, right, at Highway B?
Right, the pork chop at Highway B there at the Greenwood House, right there as it touches County Highway B.
And that'll be a T intersection, right? You'll get
Right,
rid of that?
be a straight T.
Yeah.
And what Jeremy has estimated here, and I guess I know this is a stretch for us, but I don't think that we can go into this grant cycle without the proper engineering, as we have learned in the past. So he's put forward some guidelines for his engineering. Again, one of the first things that I wanted to know was exactly where our right-of-way stands. To evaluate that right-of-way and do the design work, he's estimating a cost of $4,800. The schedule would be surveying in February of 19, designing in April, final design in July, specs and bids in October of 19, public information meeting in early 20, opening bids in early 20, and then construction in 20. He is estimating a cost of $29,400 for engineering, equipment, and expenses. I guess I was reading all
When
these
does that due?
details.
Where did you get the 29, isn't it the 24/6?
Well, here's the other thing.
24/6.
This is the design,
24/6.
then 4,800 for
Oh,
right-of-way survey.
It says one lump sum fee.
yeah.
The lump sum fee is, but when is it due in one, or when is it due? When are they wanting payment? Which budget are we hitting?
I think that we pay for engineering as we go along,
Okay.
correct?
Well, lump sum usually means all
Payment.
All at once, yeah. Well, how much of this is going to be surveyed by the state? Because they're gonna do 300 feet each way of the bridge, right? So now, is this a double up for part of it?
I can't answer that question. And I can't answer the question of how it actually gets paid for.
It talks about here about monthly payments,
Oh, okay.
based on
Where's that?
consultants estimated of the percentage of the work completed. So it's not,
Okay,
Yeah, so I think that as we go along,
okay.
we get billed for whatever we're
So
doing.
some of that is 2020's
Yeah.
budget, that's good.
Well, and part of this will be covered by the grant,
Right.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
But we're gonna have to spend the money ahead in order to recoup the grant money. I guess it all boils down to, do we begin now or do we postpone? I guess I feel like we need to begin now and look at the right-of-way for sure. If you guys would be comfortable just with a certain dollar amount to start with, that's fine with me.
I think we gotta kinda agree with this in principle, the whole
Yes, I think you have to agree to the whole deal, or you don't go.
This isn't gonna turn into another London Road project, is it?
That's
Where you have
exactly
to,
where my head went.
where you
Well,
have
how are
to
you-
follow the state specs, and we're gonna end up with a 30-foot wide road with a higher spec than a state road, you know what I mean?
Every time I go after one of these grants, this is what happens.
Well, it's just that we get kind of, you know, and maybe if it would've had the right dollar amount, maybe it would have had a different outcome, but
Well, that's it, and that's kind of where we blew it, you know, we did not have engineering details ahead, and we were just working from estimates, and that's when we had to return that money. Regardless, at some time in our lives, we are going to have to address
oh yeah, and it
the
needs to be-
intersection
yeah.
of B and
Yes,
Rock Lake
I agree,
Road.
I agree.
I don't know.
It's just, I don't know, we
It's
don't
a
want
big
to
bite.
be doubling up on any engineering, because that wouldn't make logical sense. So the state has a different engineer though, right? Or is this the same guy?
Same guy.
Same guy. Any grant money is good.
I know. It's just it's painful in the beginning. All right, is there a motion? I think we gotta go home, we gotta go big or go home, don't you?
You know,
Since it was my idea, I guess I'll make the motion. I would motion that we invest over the course of this project, $29,400 in engineering to be paid to Short, Elliott, and Hendrickson for Rock Lake Road reconditioning project.
as a pay as you go.
Yeah, sorry. To work closely with him and to pay the invoices as they come forward. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
More discussion.
Any idea what the possibilities of the grant, 50%? Because this is a TRID grant. So that's a little different than the TRID.
I think it's a, what is it? I can't remember.
How about 89-20 or something?
I think it's 80,
80-20?
20.
That would be pretty sweet.
Can't remember, or is it 50/50? I can't remember.
I like
I'll have to look at
80-20.
the piece, paperwork. Why don't I bring that paperwork back to you? So you can look at that.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of approving the motion, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, the same sign. That was painful, but we did it. All right, item E, board expense sheet approval. Anybody got any expenses? Item 11, correspondence.
Not a whole lot.
No Christmas cards?
Not yet. I'll probably get those now and I'll bring them in January for
Just the
you.
tax bills, right?
That's right. Merry Christmas. What am I looking at? Oh, question. So the county zoning department asked me about a decision sheet on the structure placement for the guy on Airport Road, Richardson,
Yes.
that happened. But
I don't know.
I didn't see that as a variance at the time. It was just a
yours?
structure placement. So we didn't sign off on anything. It never came to the board, but they sent me a decision sheet. Do you know anything about that? Okay. I will look at it.
Is it a
further.
variance?
According to the decision sheet, it's not, it's too close to the lot line. But that's not how it was presented to the plan commission when it came before the plan commission, to my knowledge.
Now, how are we
But I
gonna
wasn't
straighten
there.
that out?
I think all the documents are next about that.
All right.
Okay, so I
Sorry.
got the local land use plan and zoning educational conferences happening at the beginning of the year through May. That. Brought to you a couple months ago, managed forest addition for Martins that was granted. Just wanted to let you know that it came through. And that's the conclusion of it. And then the county is changing the modem that is in our election machine countywide. There's other counties that are doing this as well. I believe this is in conjunction with, state laws through the Wisconsin Election Commission. So the upgrade is costing us $162.50, which is something we'll have to add to our budget. Not too
Merry
critical, but
Christmas.
just letting you know,
Okay,
and that's all.
all right. Item 12, meeting schedule. I don't know about the planning commission.
I don't know either.
You haven't heard?
Heard anything further?
I have not, no.
I think these committees that meet the,
I mean, we
Well,
went,
normally
they're-
would be the first, right?
Yeah.
So they're gonna pick another
I don't know
date.
if, they have been doing Wednesdays, but yeah, I'll just stay tuned for that one.
The joint,
should we just do the second, or?
That's up to you guys, that's fine with me, but.
let's just pencil that in, January 2nd.
January 2nd, yeah.
And I know that the Joint Rock Lake Committee has canceled their
Right.
meeting until February.
Okay.
And then our next town board meeting is January 8th at 8 PM. I would make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.